Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, if you're a developer or an SEO specialist, just hearing the phrase platform migration probably makes your heart skip a beat, right? Upgrading your tech stack is incredibly exciting, but there's always that widespread underlying anxiety. What if we break everything? What if we literally lose all our hard-earned search rankings overnight? Well, today, we're going to walk through exactly how to pull off the ultimate migration from WordPress to Next.js securely and smoothly.
It's the terrifying question that keeps us up at night. Can you actually migrate away from WordPress without completely tanking your SEO? I want to validate that fear right now. We've all seen the horror stories, haven't we? A site upgrades to a shiny new framework only for their organic traffic to completely fall off a cliff. But today, let's look at the data and see why an SEO drop isn't some inevitable part of this transition. It's simply not true as long as you follow the right blueprints.
So the crucial point is, why take the risk at all? Well, full-stack developer Chris Vail points out that moving to a modern framework like Next.js brings a massive 30% improvement in page speed. This single performance boost is exactly what makes the anxiety of a migration completely worth the effort. In the modern web, speed is everything. It's a core ranking factor for search engines, and it's absolutely vital to keeping your visitors engaged.
And to put that 30% into perspective, we're talking about a massive 1.2-second average load time reduction. When you shave over a full second off your load times, you directly impact the user experience. Your site instantly feels snappier, more responsive, and, it just gives your brand a serious modern edge. Users aren't bouncing while waiting for a heavy WordPress theme to load anymore. They're getting your content instantly.
To get us there securely, here is our calming, chronological roadmap to take you from fear to absolute confidence. We're going to cover 1. The WordPress to Next.js shift. 2. Preparing your migration strategy. 3. Executing the technical migration. 4. Leveraging Next.js SEO features. And 5. Post-migration monitoring.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the WordPress to Next.js shift. We're going to examine the actual data behind a well-executed platform move.
And the numbers brilliantly illustrate the secret to pulling this off. Look at the relationship here between SEO retention and URL consistency. If you retain 100% of your URL structure, you can achieve a staggering 95% SEO retention rate right out of the gate post-migration. Search engines rely incredibly heavily on URLs for indexing. If there's a mismatch, you lose your rankings and end up with a mess of broken links. But by forcing perfect URL consistency, the algorithm barely even notices you moved.
Moving right along to Section 2, preparing your migration strategy. Careful planning and laying the groundwork is your absolute first step for success here. Chris Vail outlines a very precise 3-step strategy to prepare your ecosystem. Step 1 is auditing your current site. You need to analyze your WordPress setup to identify every single critical SEO element and structure that must be retained. Once you have that, Step 2 is planning your URL strategy. Ensure that absolutely all of your current URLs have an exact corresponding destination in Next.js. You definitely want to maintain all that valuable link equity. Finally, in Step 3, you implement and test. You have to rigorously test for SEO consistency and performance. A seamless migration means your users and search engines notice the massive performance boost, not a bunch of 404 accessibility errors.
Now we're at Section 3, executing the technical migration. This is the active implementation phase where we secure your hard-earned search rankings. When it comes to the actual execution, you have to follow strict rules. You're mapping out existing URLs and planning their Next.js counterparts, but the real magic here is in the redirects. 301 redirects are your absolute best friend during this process. Think of a 301 redirect like a permanent change of address form with the post office. It ensures that any traffic looking for your old WordPress URLs is seamlessly and permanently forwarded to the new Next.js versions. This one simple step preserves your SEO equity and firmly prevents users from landing on dead 404 pages.
Let's shift focus to Section 4, leveraging Next.js SEO features. These specific modern web technologies are going to serve as your ultimate SEO superpowers.
Okay, let's dive into this. First up is static site generation, or SSG. This is where Next.js pre-renders your pages into static HTML at build time. Because the page is already built before the user even asks for it, SSG delivers your content at blazing, almost unbelievable speeds. And guess who absolutely loves incredibly fast pre-built static HTML? Search engine crawlers. It is perfectly optimized for them to read and index your site instantly.
But what if you have a highly dynamic site with content that changes every second? Well, that's where server-side rendering, or SSR, comes in. SSR renders pages dynamically on the server every single time a request is made. This means that even if you have complex, constantly updating dynamic data on your page, Next.js still builds it into readable HTML on the server before sending it to the browser. This ensures that even your most complex dynamic content remains perfectly readable to search engines the exact moment they crawl it.
So how do you choose? Actually, scratch that. You don't really have to pick just one. Balancing SSG for raw static speed on your blogs and landing pages versus SSR for dynamic search engine crawlability on your live data pages is the ultimate hybrid strategy. Next.js allows you to mix and match these rendering methods on a page-by-page basis based on your specific content needs. You aren't forced to compromise. You can tailor the exact right approach to perfectly balance raw speed with dynamic search engine crawlability.
Bringing us to our final chronological step, Section 5, Post-Migration Monitoring. We need to ensure everything runs efficiently after your site goes live.
Because the work does not stop the moment you hit deploy. Optimization simply doesn't end with the migration. You require continuous monitoring. You need to hook up and utilize tools like Google Search Console to track your performance daily in those crucial first few weeks. If any indexing issues or rogue 404s pop up, you need to address them immediately before they impact your ranking. You really have to treat optimization as an ongoing process in your new, highly capable environment.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how developer Chris Vail beautifully frames the whole journey. He says, migration isn't just a change in platform, it's a step towards a more performant future. When you transition correctly, by addressing SEO concerns head-on and leveraging modern capabilities, you aren't just moving files from one server to another. You're genuinely setting your digital presence up for long-term scalability and success. So, the final question is this. Are you ready to embrace the change and build a more performant future? Armed with the right strategy, planning URL mapping, executing flawless 301 redirects, and leveraging Next.js rendering features, you have everything you need. It's time to confidently execute your technical migration and leave those old SEO anxieties firmly in the past. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what you build next.